Pappy's back this week. Been doing a little bit of experimenting, and I've got a way to mount that camera that I have a little bit better control of what I'm looking at. So I mounted it to a house. And it pretty much, I can zero it in on my phone to tell make sure I got the elevation and everything proper. And pretty much if I look straight ahead, that's what the camera's looking at. I use it on my phone. So it's kind of a neat setup. It's just a new one for me. Maybe it'll help with my videos. But with that said, I'm going to get started here. Here's the surprise. Look what has made it to the basement. Now, if you look on the rear, we have a dolly, and there's another one on the other side in the rear. I was trying to make this corner, but this thing runs so poorly, it's smoking up the house. I had to shut it off as soon as I got it in the basement. So I wasn't able to push it, back it into the area and so forth like I would if it were running, but I could see fumes, there's going to be a problem. So we do have these dollies, and I'm going to, put them under the front, and then I can just push this wherever it needs to go, and the problem is I've got one of the dollies is back here under the 455 engine, which is right there. So I got to put together an engine stand. We're going to put that engine up on it. I'll get that dolly back, and we'll put them under the Firebird and get it over here down this work area. And this is where it's going to spend a good bit of its time until we get all this body work and everything done and figure out what we're going to do with the paint job. I'm not quite sure which direction I'm going to go. I'm not able to paint a car here. There's just no way. The fumes and so forth, that's just not going to work out. Don't really own a body shop or have access to one. I mean, a paint booth is what I meant to say, a spray booth, unless I get one of those bounce house things, And I don't know how well that'd be good, if it's worth the money to invest in that. So we're going to go on down the road. Okay, with that said about the body shop and a paint booth, I'm not going to invest, I don't think, in one of those inflatables, but unless somebody knows of one that's a good bang for the buck, I don't want to spend a ton of money on it, because I'm not going to be painting that many cars. And I did take a couple of years of auto body back when I was in high school, and I've painted several cars. I've always gotten some trash in them because it's unavoidable without a proper spray booth. I've never had one. I had a a dedicated paint area, and it did have a pretty good fan ventilation system and a heating system. And it never was great. It was basically drywall, and I had some filters on the wall and a big attic fan, belt-driven attic fan for the exhaust. And, so that, it worked okay, but it wasn't great. And like I said, I get some trash in them, so I don't know. I may end up farming out the paint job. We'll just see. I don't have any other options at the moment, but we'll see what the future brings. But that's what we want to do, is we got to do an all-over paint job on that car. And I'm going to do a few in the future. With my son's Camaro back in the day, in some of my older videos, you can see it. It was just, we scratched it up and best we could, we sanded it down and stripped some of the paint with paint stripper. I don't recommend that. That made a bigger mess than it helped. But you live and you learn, and it's better to grind it off or just remove it, through sanding and not chemical stripping. I don't really recommend that. I mean, if you got so many coats of paint, you may have to, but it's probably better to have it media blasted or something if you got it that bad. I just don't recommend chemicals, at least in my use of them. They've just never worked out. It made a bigger mess, and it made the surface, you'd always leave some behind. You end up having to grind it off anyway. So we're not going that route. So we're going to just continue on and work and get this thing whipped into shape. That's the goal. But before I can really get started on the Firebird, I just need to get it moved over there where we, boom, there it is. It's on the stand, and the Firebird is now sitting on the dollies. We had a problem. This hat that I had, that I'd made to hold the camera, I had this pointing up too high, and all the footage of that was useless. So you couldn't see anything of what I was working on. It was just randomly pointing around. So I went ahead and decided I'm just going to end it here. We did get it done. The Firebird is up on the stand, and or up on the dollies, and we got it moved. Doesn't roll very good, but she's over here. That's the main thing. And in fact, I'll turn it around so you can see. As you can see, the Firebird is on the dollies. So we did get it to move. It doesn't roll very well. We're going to have to address these front plates here. They just don't roll very well. I think it's just a little overloaded. This thing's about 65% front weight. And these dollies came with a Jeep Wrangler I had about 5 years ago, and I've kept the dollies. And I was hoping it was going to work as well on this car as it did the Jeep, but the Jeep is so much lighter. And I think its wheelbase was so tight, and all four of them together, it rolled really good. You could put that thing anywhere you want in your garage, and without two or three people trying to push on it. This thing, I think they're flexing because it's just overloaded. I'm looking down at it now, and it might even be bowing a little bit. And when you bow those casters, they'll get to where they bind up against each other, trying to, the angle of the caster changes, and it causes them to bind up. They don't twist and roll and turn like they should. So, and they're all four going four different directions basically, and it's like putting the brakes on. So that's substandard. We're going to have to fix that. That'll be one of our other projects we'll get into. But as far as today, that's it. And until next week.